Shalom Havarim. It's been a couple of months since we've made a video, and I want to apologize for that. There's been a lot of things going on. And today I wanted to share with you some things out of the prophecy of 2Esdras in the Apocrypha that might be especially pertinent to some of the things happening in the world right now. So I'm going to share these things with you, and then I want to update you on some books that we have recently published and some of the work that we're doing right now for future publication and works and things that are very important to the restoration of the scriptures and the restoration of the original Jewish followers of Yeshua as the Jewish Messiah of Judaism. All right. Um, Before we get started, I need to ask everybody to please donate to support this work, especially if you want to see more videos and if you want to support some of the work that we'll be talking about later that we're working on to get out. And you can do that by donating by PayPal to donations at wnae.org or by clicking on the donate link in the video description. Obviously, please like our video, share our videos with your friends, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell so you get notified when new videos come out. So in 2nd Esdras, chapters 11 and 12 in the Apocrypha, there is a very interesting vision that Esdras has. Now, I want to warn everybody about 2nd Esdras that the first two chapters and the last two chapters of 2nd Esdras, as we have in the KJV and the RSV, etc., all only exist or first to come to exist in the Latin version. In the ancient Aramaic version and the Arabic version, all the foreign language early versions, those first two chapters and last two chapters don't exist. And they teach very extreme replacement theology, and it's very clear that they're not part of the original text of the book. However, chapters 11 and 12 are very interesting because they elaborate upon Daniel's vision in Daniel chapter 7. And those of you familiar with that know that that has implications for Daniel chapter 2 and the vision of the dream of the image of the man, and the anti-Messiah, the beast in Revelation chapter 13, which is a composite of the four beasts in Daniel 7, and really sort of a continuation of the fourth beast of Daniel 7. And what's significant is that in 2nd Esdras, chapter 11, Esdras has a similar vision. He sees a beast that rises up from the sea, just as Daniel sees four beasts that rise from the sea. In Revelation, Yochanan sees one beast rise from the sea. So in 2nd Esdras chapter 11, the beast that Esdras sees rise from the sea is a three-headed eagle. And that, of course, is very interesting to us because in our era, because there is a nation on the earth whose symbol is the eagle that has three heads, that has three branches of government and independent branches at the head of its government. And the interesting thing is in 2nd Esdras chapter 11, and I'm not going to read it to you, I'll let you go read it. There's a lot of things in here that might refer back, for example, to the war between the states and so on. Certain contrary wings and whatnot that seem to rebel. But then a point in the prophecy, the three heads seem to come into conflict with one another, and one of them sleeps for a time. It's kind of interesting, and then it awakens, it becomes very powerful. Um, and then it disappears, and then the other two heads go to war with each other, and one of them consumes the other. So there's this conflict between the three branches of government. I'm sorry, I mean the three heads of the eagle. And then in chapter 12, uh, he is given, Ezra is given the explanation. It's Ezra is his name. Excuse me. It's called Second Esdras because Esdras is the Latin pronunciation of his name, and that's what the book has come to be called. But in chapter 12, he's given the explanation uh, of the vision and what it meant, just like Daniel is in Daniel chapter 7. And in 2nd Esdras chapter 12, in the explanation, one of the things he's told in verse 10, it says, he said to me, this is the interpretation of the vision. I forgot to tell you. In the initial vision in chapter 11, a lion speaks to the eagle, but the eagle doesn't give heed to the lion. Okay, so verse 10 in chapter 12, it says, he said to me, this is the interpretation of the vision which you have seen. The eagle which you saw coming up from the sea is the fourth kingdom which appeared in a vision to your brother Daniel. But it was not explained to him as I now explain or have explained it to you. So this is a vision in 2nd Esdras chapters 11 and 12 that sheds more light on the fourth beast of Daniel 7 and really on the composite beast of Revelation 13. Then in verse 31 it says, as for the lion who you saw rousing out from the forest and roaring and speaking to the eagle and reproving him for his unrighteousness, and as for his words that you have heard, this is the Messiah whom the Most High has kept until the end of days, who will arise from the posterity of David. So the in verse 31 we're told that the lion is the Messiah, and that the three-headed eagle gives no heed to his rebuke. So I invite you all to study 2nd Esdras 11 and 12 and to shed more light on Daniel 7 and the fourth beast and the beast that rises from the sea in Revelation chapter 13, because in 2nd Esdras chapters 11 and 12, we get some more information about that beast, and that it can also be compared, it's also likable to an eagle with three heads, that the three heads come into conflict with one another and give no heed to the Messiah, the lion. And as they come into conflict with one another, one of them just disappears and another one devours one of the others, and so on. So it's very interesting prophetic information for us to give heed to ourselves. Okay, now I want to share the fact that I have been working on a number of books. My intention at this point is to write down everything that, all the accumulated information that I've gathered in my studies in a series of magnum opus books, um, uh, documenting what I have learned in my life's work and leaving it behind should I perish at any point. Because as I'm getting older, my days are not going to be eternal unless the Messiah returns in my lifetime. My days on this earth, at least. And so the first book that I have published in this new series of books, and I'm publishing these on Amazon so that they're more widely available to people, and people can find them more easily. The first one is titled Returning to the Way, the Rebirth of Nazarene Judaism. This is my 500-page magnum opus on the restoration of the ancient sect of Nazarene Judaism, the original Jewish followers of Yeshua as the Messiah. It's fully documented with references to ancient sources, and it talks about things like what the so-called church fathers said about this ancient sect of the Nazarenes, how they relate to the early rise of Christianity, how they relate to the Ebionites, how they related to the ancient sect of the Essenes and the ancient sect of the Pharisees, and so on. Like I said, it's a 500-page book. Many references to the rabbinic literature, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and I highly encourage you to acquire this book. It's available in both paperback and hardback from Amazon. There will be a link in the video description for where you can get this book. Now, the link that I will share will be the link for the American Amazon and the generic Amazon page. However, if you go there and it says it's not available in your area, if you have an Amazon page for your own country, as does, for example, Australia and whatnot, go to that Amazon page, look up James Trem, look up the title, or you can look up the books written by James Trem and find it that way, and you can order it that way. Again, Returning to the Way, the Rebirth of Nazarene Judaism, 500 pages, goes into the ancient Nazarene commentary on Isaiah, the Gospel according to the Hebrews, which was used by the ancient Nazarenes, etc. Another book I want to talk about that I recently published is The Mind of Shalom, The Lost Philosophy of Jewish Stoicism Restored. And this has to do with the ancient Jewish Stoics, as expressed in 4th Maccabees and by Philo of Alexandria and other ancient Jewish literature. There were a group of Jewish Stoics in the Second Temple era, and they did not see Stoicism as a Greek philosophy, but rather as a philosophy that the Greeks had co-opted from the Torah. They saw it as a Torah-based philosophy, and I encourage you to read that book, The Mind of Shalom, The Lost Philosophy of Jewish Stoicism. That's my magnum opus on that subject. We've also published a revised edition of my Book of Enoch Study Edition, and this is a translation of First Enoch with hundreds of scholarly footnotes. The translation is taken wherever possible from the Aramaic of the Dead Sea Scrolls and from other sources where that is not possible, from the Greek and the Ethiopic, where the Aramaic version has not survived, with hundreds of scholarly footnotes, and it also has Second Enoch in an appendix with a number of scholarly footnotes to Second Enoch as well. This is the book that is quoted by Jude in Jude chapter, there's only one chapter to Jude, verses 14 through 15, which are quoting First Enoch chapter 1, verse 9. The fourth book that we've published recently is the revised Book of Jasher Study Edition, which is translated. It's a fresh translation from the original Hebrew. It is not the translation that was published in 1830 that has been regularly reprinted. And it also has hundreds of scholarly footnotes. This is the book of Jasher that is cited in Scripture in Joshua 10, chapter 10, verse 13, and 2 Samuel chapter 1, verse 18, but has not made it into the Bible. So all these books are available, and I will give links to them in the video description. And so there are more books that I have planned. And in fact, there are several books that I'm working on right now, which is one of the reasons that I have not had time to make a video lately. Um, One of those books is of course, writing and putting together the 4 books that were just published. And what I'm working on now is a complete commentary on the Book of Enoch. That will be part of a commentary series. I intend eventually, in coming years, to write a commentaries, let me put it this way, covering every book of the Bible and the Apocrypha, as well as the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jasher. This is my commentary. What I'm working on right now is my commentary to the Book of Enoch. It's extensive. It's 350 some odd pages, 8.5 by 11. So when I if I try and reduce it down to a trade paperback size, it comes out to over 600 pages. So I will probably be publishing it as an 8.5 by 11, big bulky 8.5 by 11 book. We'll see. Maybe I can find a way to publish it as a trade paperback, but if I do, it would be really thick. So I'm working on that. The rough draft is completed. I am working my way through the rough draft, smoothing it out and getting it ready for publication. And one of the reasons I'm able to come out with a lot of these books, by the way, fairly rapidly, is that I have dozens of 3-ring binders, spiral notebooks, and composition books filled with notes and information, and a hard drive filled with information. My hard drive, every time I've gotten a new computer, I have migrated all of my data from the old computer going back 40 years. Literally, there's at least one file that I have that goes back to my Commodore 64. So I have been keeping all of my blogs, articles, and research all of these decades. So now it's just a matter of compiling it all together. Okay, the next thing I'm working on, very important, is my update of this prior book, which it will replace. It's a book on the Hebrew and Aramaic origin of the New Testament. I'm working very hard on that. It will be my magnum opus on the subject. Now, maybe I'll live another 20 years and somewhere down the line learn so much more that I feel like another book must be written on that topic. But right now, this will be the culmination of all that I have learned on the topic. And while I was writing this book, I was including a chapter on, for example, the internal evidence in the Greek Gospels that they were originally written in Hebrew and Aramaic, the internal evidence in Acts that it was originally written in Hebrew and Aramaic, the internal evidence in, yes, the Pauline epistles that they were originally written in Hebrew and Aramaic, the internal evidence in the general epistles that they were written in Hebrew and Aramaic, and finally, I got to the book of Revelation, and I came to the conclusion, a new conclusion, after 40 years of research, that the book of Revelation was originally written in Hebrew, period. It was not written in Aramaic, it was written in Hebrew. There's nothing about it that needs to be explained from Aramaic, and nothing significant. And It does not even appear to have gone through an Aramaic layer, as I previously believed. I'm convinced now that the book of Revelation was originally written in Hebrew and translated directly into Greek. The Greek is amongst the worst Greek that has ever been written. It's grammatically atrocious. And the reason for that is that it is very good Hebrew. And so it stands out apart from all of the other books. Some of them have uh, difficulties in the Greek because they were translated too literally from the Hebrew, but nothing like the book of Revelation. When I look at the Greek of the book of Revelation, I can see the original Hebrew behind it, and that spawned work on a new book. That book is a complete restoration of the original Hebrew of the book of Revelation. And I'm writing it in two parallel columns, so it will also probably be 8.5 by 11. Um, the two parallel columns on the left column is the literal Hebrew restoration, and immediately underneath each verse in Hebrew is a literal English translation of the Hebrew. On the right-hand column for each and every verse, a full explanation of how you can see the Hebrewisms in the verse and the Hebrew structure in the verse, and how the Hebrew was reconstructed from the Greek. Okay. Another project that I am working on that was also spawned by my work on this book, my magnum opus on the Hebrew and Aramaic origin of the New Testament, is a reconstruction of the Jewish Western Aramaic behind the Old Syriac. The Old Syriac manuscripts, we have two of them of the four Gospels. You may have heard of the Peshitta. The Peshitta is actually a revision of the Old Syriac. All this is laid out and will be laid out in my new book on the Hebrew and Aramaic origin of the New Testament. But the Old Syriac is its predecessor, and we have two manuscripts of the Old Syriac, both of which are fragmentary, but between the two of them we have 95% of the text of the Old Syriac for the four Gospels. And so one of the things that I'm showing in the new book is that there are elements of Western Aramaic in the Old Syriac. There are elements in the Old Syriac that are bad Syriac but good Western Aramaic. And so my intent is to go through the Old Syriac and reconstruct the Jewish Western Aramaic underlying text behind the Old Syriac, and simultaneously the Hebrew behind that. So that's an important work of restoration of the four Gospels, and it will be informed by the Old Hebrew versions, the Old Hebrew version of Matthew, which we have attested to in four texts: the Dutele Hebrew manuscript, the Garza Trim Hebrew manuscript, the Munster text, and the Quinquerbos text. I have several other projects on the back burner, ready to pull forward as soon as I start getting these projects out. So, for example, a full restoration, putting the Gospel according to the Hebrews back together again in Hebrew and English. And so many books to write. In fact, I have almost 70 books